Hi guys.
Hi.
You okay?
Hiya.
Hi.
Hi Katie. I keep missing your calls. I have to give you a call.
No,
later.
never mind. We've got plenty of time to chat.
Hi.
Hi, is that Denise?
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm just letting people in. How you doing? You all right, darling?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good, good.
Trying to get Aidan to come and do yoga, but he's gone to make a chocolate cheesecake instead.
Ooh, I think that's probably preferable.
Ooh,
Ooh.
good choice.
I know. Maybe go and buy loads of chocolate and stuff.
Ooh.
I think he's following a recipe, but then making it his own style-y.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
So anything could happen.
Hello, Sarah.
Hi.
Quiet little class this evening. Well, just
Everyone's out in the sun, aren't they?
I know, it's beautiful. I did kind of think about, oh, here's Melanie. I did kind of think about doing it out in the garden, but sometimes when you're really still, it just gets a little bit cold, even if you're in the sunshine.
I'm doing mine on the roof.
Are you? Well, if you get chilly, if the sun goes off you, you can always go in. Don't get burnt, will you? Got some sun cream on.
It's like really warm because it's black, so I don't think.
Okay. Okay, so it's 6 o'clock, so I'll just mute everybody's lines down and we'll get started. Okay, so good evening and welcome to another yin yoga session. So I hope you all had a lovely day. It's been really beautiful out in the sunshine, and I'm sitting in the garden thinking about all the things that I really ought to be doing most of the day. So we're going to start off by just coming down into our reclining butterfly pose, and you can just bring the soles of your feet together. Let the knees drop out to the side and then just slowly roll down. Use your elbows to support you and just roll down onto your back. Is there someone else trying to come in? So I'll let them in now. Okay. Okay, so down on your back, just let the knees drop out to the side. Maybe your feet are a little bit further away than they would usually be in your Baddha Konasana. So reclining butterfly, we've got the feet maybe 3 hand lengths away from the perineum. It's going to have a little wiggle in the shoulders. And it's a hot day, so you might feel like you want to take your arms over behind your head and just be really open in that position. It's quite cooling to have the arms extended over behind the head. Or you might prefer to have the hands just resting on the belly. Do what feels right for you. What's most important here is that you are able to relax and to release the muscles in the inner thighs, the groins, and hips. And if you can't do that, if you feel like you're really clenching or holding on, then you might feel happier to have some support underneath the hips. You could simply wedge your hands right underneath your hip joints, which will give you a little bit of support. Or you could take a cushion underneath each thigh just to hold the weight of the legs. As you rest here, just feeling the day melting away. Made this little window of your time just to be still, to come together with yourself and to practice your yoga. Remind ourselves that yoga is the practice of unification, bringing the mind and the body together into the same place. When we cultivate this presence of mind, we begin to understand more clearly our place within the family of things that surround us. Be with your breath, allowing the legs to let go, to release a little bit more with every exhalation. Into the final minute of this pose now. So you might like to start to lengthen out that exhalation just a little bit, just to let your awareness travel all the way down the out breath, right to the very last whisper of the exhale. Exhale. And just allow that pause at the end of your out breath. Allow the next breath just to happen to you without feeling the need to drag it in, to make it happen. Just let it bounce back in on its own. And then when you're ready, just going to slide your hands underneath your thighs. Your legs feel really heavy now. So just a little bit of engagement with the adductor muscles and the inner thighs. But let your hands assist you as you bring your knees in. And we're just going to bring the knees all the way together and then draw your knees into your chest. And just rocking gently on your lower back from side to side. And from here, we're going to come into shoelace pose. So you're going to stay on your back. You're going to cross your right leg over your left leg. You're going to take your arms out at shoulder height. Now, if you want to work more gently, you might want to have your bottom foot on the floor. You might want to place, where is it? A bolster cushion on your right hand side. So if your knees don't come all the way to the floor, if you feel it's pulling in your lower back, you just drop your knees over onto that cushion and there's some support there. Remember, you're going to be here for a while. So it could be that you're able to just take the knees all the way over and your left shoulder stays pretty much on the floor. Doesn't matter, it's not have to press down, push down into the floor, but if it's coming up a lot, I would suggest that you support the weights of your legs in some way. And then just let yourself be there. You might want to turn your head to look to your left as well. And just starting to really tune in to your breath. So this pose is a lovely release for the lower back. Also opening along the outside of your right hip and outside, sorry, it's your left hip and your left thigh. But if it's too intense, and particularly if it pinches in your left groin, then maybe try it without the legs crossed. So the first 30 seconds, minute of being in a pose, you're kind of assessing what's going on. Now, can I be with this? Can I settle into this pose? You're finding the edge of your range of movement. Once you've found your edge, then you start to release into it, to soften the edges by using your breath. How much can you let go in that pose? How much can you soften the muscles? Even when sometimes your mind is telling you to tighten up, to tense, to hold on. Can you be with the sensation? Can you breathe into the sensation? Can you allow yourself to release and to let go with your exhalation? So well into the final minute of this pose now. See if you can lengthen your out breath. And then when you're ready to come out, first of all, bring your head back to center. If your lower back feels vulnerable in that position, you might want to just unhook your top foot, bring your knees together, and then use the abdominal muscles to roll back to the center. Bring your knees into your chest, have a little bit of movement from side to side, but not too much. Don't want to get over active in the muscles at this point. And just notice the difference between the two sides of your body. If you were using a bolster, you might want to bring your bolster over to the other side, and then you're going to do the same thing. So we cross the left leg over the right leg, and just let the knees drop over to the left. The head turns to the right. Just connecting with your breath. Don't worry too much if the shoulder lifts up a little bit off the floor, but if it's coming up a lot, then placing your knees on a cushion. Could be that you've got one hip that's significantly tighter, so maybe the legs don't go quite so far on this side, maybe they go a little bit further. So spending maybe the first 30 seconds, the first minute, just finding your edge, settling into the pose, and then turning your attention inward and allowing yourself to just be with your breath. As we release tension in the hips, just notice what's happening in your jaw. Often when the hips are tight, the jaw is also tight. So while you're holding in this pose, just consciously soften the jaw, the tongue, the throat. Notice if your mind wanders off. The challenge is not to stop the mind from wandering, but simply to notice that it has. And when you notice, then you strengthen that pattern of awareness, being present in the moment. You simply acknowledge that your mind wandered off and bring yourself back. And the more we do that, the more we train the mind to come back to the present moment, the more we develop this awareness mind state. You start to awaken to the present moment. 3 more breaths here, lengthening out the exhale. And if you want to keep the legs crossed, you can keep them crossed. If you want to unhook that top foot just to make it a little easier on your lower back, bring yourself to center, hug your knees into your chest and just make some little circles around on your lower back. Go a couple of times in each direction. And then slowly when you're ready, just flop to your right hand side and roll up into a seated position. Okay, so let's come around. We're going to come first of all now to a kneeling position with the knees out wide. Okay, so opening into the knees. I use my bolster cushion for this just because it's really comfortable. So you can put a bolster cushion or a stack of pillows in front of you, or you can come all the way down to the floor if you wish. And we're just going to fold forward at the hips. So just releasing forward. And we did a lot of work in that last pose, in that twist, to open into the back of the hips, across the lower back. And this area now is just lengthening all of that out. If you want to have your head just to one side, if you're on a bolster cushion, you can do that. And then halfway through, I'll just remind you to turn your head the other way. If you are resting on a cushion or on a bolster, just feel the pressure of that cushion against your belly. And allow yourself to soften. Feel as though you're melting into the support. It's a really nurturing, calming position to be in. Feeling supported and held. Maybe physically this pose is a little bit less of a challenge. If your hips are very tight, that might well not be the case. But there's some of you, if you've got quite open hips, you might be just enjoying this pose. And that's great. But sometimes when we enjoy the pose a little bit too much, then the mind gets a bit more active. So sometimes there's that balance between, is this challenging me physically? And when it is, sometimes it's all we can think about. It really holds our awareness. We're so present with the sensations that arise. But then when something's perhaps a little bit less of a challenge physically, does the mind wander off? And if that's the case, then that's now where the work is. To train the mind to follow the breath. Maybe picking one point where you're most aware of the breath in your body as you rest in this shape, and just focusing on that. So it could be the tip of your nostrils, it could be the back of your throat, it could be the back of your chest, wherever you're most aware of the movement of your breath, just let all of your attention rest there for a moment. And if you did choose to turn your head to one side, then just slowly, slowly turn your head the other way. Noticing if tension has started to sneak back into your hips, into your groins, your inner thighs. You soften again. You let go anymore. That relationship again between the hips holding tension and the jaw holding tension. Just observe what's happening around the jaw and the throat. Allowing that to melt away as well. Three more breaths. And then very, very slowly, when you're ready, you're just going to walk your hands all the way back in, coming up into kneeling, and use your bolster cushion. And we're going to just come briefly onto all fours. So coming onto your hands and knees, I'm just going to make some nice slow circles. Circling around. You might want to dip your chest low to the floor. You might want to really round into your lower back, curling your tailbone under. Just listen to where your body wants and how your body wants to move. Good. And then let's come back to our neutral all fours position. And from here, we're going to come into pigeon pose. So sliding your right knee forward. So your knee is somewhere in between your hands, and then sliding your left leg back. Now remember, if this doesn't suit your knees, you can turn yourself back onto your back. You can hook your foot over and be in your reclining pigeon pose with your foot against a wall, maybe resting on a chair. If you're coming into that pose and you kind of think, well, yeah, that's okay, I can do it, but my hips are a long way off the floor, it's a bit tight, then just get a rolled up blanket and wedge it underneath your right hip. And you want to feel the left hip is rolling down towards the floor, so your pelvis is level. You could have that imaginary glass of water balanced on the back of the pelvis. And then you can just walk the hands out, maybe fold the arms, make a little pillow for your head, maybe extend the arms and just let your head rest on the ground. Just be where you are. I'm going to keep my head up just because I'm talking so you can hear me a little bit better, but just let your head be supported in some way. So we spent the first few moments just dropping into the shape, finding the edges, And now the practice is to just be in the pose and to find ways of letting go. And for some of you, this might be a really challenging posture. Notice how your mind reacts as well as how your body reacts to that. So we call yoga a practice. A practice consists of rehearsing over and over again. Rehearsing the actions and the reactions that we're trying to learn to master. We're building awareness. And with our awareness comes conscious choice. So we learn this on our yoga mat. We learn to be present with what we're doing. We learn to make decisions based on how our body reacts to being in a certain pose, acting in a way that is respectful and kind. And as we practice this over and over, it teaches us a new way of being that spreads out from our yoga mat and hopefully into our lives. We practice coming face to face with challenging moments, challenging thoughts and sensations. And we learn how to slow down, how to step back, and to notice what's going on, what's really going on. We learn the right way to act or react, not just in a yoga pose, but in our lives. To the development of awareness. We're more open to the different possibilities that exist, the different choices that we have, rather than just acting on a kind of default setting in a habitual way that could be quite inappropriate to a given situation, but it's just how we have been programmed. It's like a trough that we've worn from doing the same thing over and over again, and often we're so blinded by what's happening around us that we don't make time to step back and consider. We just react. Three more breaths. And then slowly, slowly coming up. Let's just walk the hands in. Peel your chest up. Let's just take a little bit of a back bend, lifting the heart, opening up. And then slide your knee back so you come back onto all fours, back onto your hands and knees. And let's just work in our cat-cow for a moment, rounding the back as you exhale, dropping the head down, drawing the heart forward as you inhale, opening and lengthening. Couple more times. Good. And then let's prepare to come into our pigeon pose on the other side. Remember, you can be on your back if you need to. It could be that you've got more stiffness on this side or an old knee injury. Okay, so otherwise we're going to bring the left knee forward in between the thumbs. Your heel lines up behind your right wrist, and you simply work to slide the right leg back. Top of the foot rests on the floor. Finding your edge. If you're very flexible, you might even want to bring the foot further forward so it's right behind the wrist. Bring the knee more out to the side. And then let's just bring it down onto the forearms. Pelvis is level. And just letting the head release. So find some surface, be it a block, a cushion, your folded arms, or the mat, to let your head rest onto. And be with your breath. So becoming aware of where you're feeling sensation in that pose. It could be acutely apparent to you where the sensation is, or you might have to look a little bit more closely if your hips are already very open. And just allow yourself to be with that sensation. You acknowledge it and just accept it. As long as it's not painful, and by painful I mean really sharp or electric sensations. So dull, achy sensations spread over a broad area, that's what we kind of expect. That's what we're actually trying to find when we come into a yin pose. But anything that feels really sharp or spiky, just back off away from that. You might want to move yourself into a different shape. Beyond that, once you're in the pose and once you're sitting with the sensations, just allow yourself to accept them, to be with them. And the same goes for thoughts. If you have a thought that pops into your mind, just allow yourself to be with that thought. Just to acknowledge. You don't need to chase it out, just accepting it. And then we just start to watch. We develop our observer consciousness. Really beautiful description of the state of mind that we're trying to cultivate. You are an observer. You are simply watching what's going on, be that sensation in your physical body or thoughts coming into your mind. You're watching it flow. I often like to have the vision here of sitting on the bank of a river. The river continues to flow by, and you're just sitting and you're watching it flow. You're watching the thoughts flow by. You're watching the sensations flow by. And sometimes in life, what happens instead is that we fall in. We fall into the river and we're swept along by our thoughts, and we start to act and react in ways that are not conscious. So trying to use your breath to keep you anchored to the riverbank. It's like a lifeline holding you there, steady, present. I'm just going to be for another 3 breaths on this side. And then slowly, slowly sliding Your hands back. Have a little open up your pigeon pose just to lengthen through the front body again. And then tucking the back toes under and sliding your knee back. And let's just have a little sway from side to side this time. So you're wagging your tail and then just letting your hips. Sparky's gone on a walk, so I can't let him demonstrate this for you. You're just wagging your tail from side to side. Good. Now that we're in this position on the knees, we're going to stay here. We're going to come into our melting heart pose. So you might want to have some cushioning underneath your knees. You can put a blanket there if you want to. We're going to walk the arms out in front. The hips stay directly above the knees. The arms extend, and maybe your forehead comes to the ground. Maybe you'd rather fold your arms and rest your head on your folded arms. And you want to feel like your heart is melting towards the floor. You also want to feel like your armpits are softening towards the floor. Things to watch out for here: if you feel a strong pinching sensation in the top of your shoulder just here, then maybe take the elbows a little bit wider, see if that releases. If you bend the elbows out to the side, you could work with one arm extended, the other arm bent. That sometimes works. So you've spent those first 30 seconds just settling in, and now you're just going to be here with your breath. Acknowledging how your body feels, allowing yourself to be with the sensations. And then simply watching the sensation. And as you watch the sensations, maybe you get an idea of how to skillfully, mindfully act towards the sensation. Now in Yin Yoga, this is a confusing one, because what we're looking at is the action of not doing. And as Westerners, we are not prepared to do that. In Chinese Taoist philosophy, this action of inaction is described as wu wei. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this idea of acting in a way that actually means that you do less. Okay? So when you feel a sensation and your active mind tells you to tighten or to tense up against it, what you want to try to cultivate is the action of doing less. So rather than tightening up, can you let go? Can you relax more into that sensation? Can you use your breath to allow you to release? To soften, to relax. The relaxation in itself is the same idea of the action of inaction. That's why people struggle so much often to learn to relax. We're so used to learning a new skill and it all being about the doing, not about the undoing. And the harder you try to relax, the harder it is. It's like falling asleep. Often the harder you try to sleep, the further away that restful slumber is from you. And learning to not do. It's quite a strong pose, so we're not going to be here for quite as long as we were with some of the other postures. Let's just take Another 5 breaths here. Another 5 slow, steady exhalation and inhalations, obviously. And then to come out, just press your forehead into the mat if it's down there, and then walk the hands back. You're just going to bring your hands back, bring yourself slowly up onto your knees. I'm going to work in cat again, but we're really going to emphasize the upper back. So pressing the hands down, round the back, press the hands forward, draw your heart in towards your spine, and then inhale, heart draws forward, shoulders draw back. Exhaling, rounding. You might want to just play around in that position, opening the spine. And then inhale, drawing the heart forward. Let your movements be fluid like water, led by your intuition rather than by what I'm showing you or telling you to do. Okay, and then let's bring the knees in close and let's sit the hips back onto the heels and bring the hands back by the feet. I'm just going to rest for a few moments in child's pose, feeling your shoulders melting around the shape of your legs. Just try and imagine it's like someone's draped a warm blanket over your shoulders. And you just feel the shoulders release and soften. So we've learned to allow sensations to arise, to watch sensations, to become an observer. How to act without action, to release and to let go deeper and deeper into a posture. Next thing is to just keep at it. Dedication to your yoga practice is so important. Keeping a regular practice. And staying with those difficult sensations when they arise, and staying with your practice on the days when you really feel like, no, I don't want to get on my yoga mat today, I don't want to do this. I have that myself. I get this little yoga rebel that says, no, can't bother, don't want to do it. And allowing that part of yourself, that's okay. But always I know that when I do drag myself in here and I get on my yoga mat, I always feel better. I have never in my entire life of practicing yoga, I've never regretted a yoga practice. Apart from the one where someone else dislocated my hip, but I won't go into that now. Okay, slowly. Let's come up. And we're going to take a really beautiful shoulder opening pose. So I'm going to show you this. You're going to come down onto your belly and you're going to extend one arm out at shoulder height. From there, turning away from that arm, so you're looking the other way, and you're just going to roll onto your side. Now if that feels okay, and I'm supporting myself with this hand on the floor, if that feels okay, you might want to take this top foot and place it down behind you. And then eventually, as you become more open, you can allow this knee to drop out to the side. And this is going to be as strong, as intense as you want it to be. So if you really let that knee drop open, then it's going to feel really, really intense in the pose, or you can just stay on your side. Okay? You want to find the edge of your range of movement. You want to find a place where you can be, where you can breathe, where you feel challenged enough that your attention is held, but not so challenged that it just makes you want to stop. So if you were in class this morning, we did a lot of work on opening the shoulders. This pose is a really powerful way of continuing that, of getting that lovely opening. You're probably feeling it through the front of your chest. It's like the counter pose to most other things that we do in our lives. We spend so much time in that slouched forward position with the head forward. Maybe we're reading, maybe we're driving, maybe we're looking at a screen. And the head and the shoulders sneak further and further forwards. And this is a really beautiful way to release that. Use your breath. I'm just going to take 3 more breaths, focusing on the exhale, focus on releasing, letting go. And then slowly, slowly rolling to your front. Just gather that arm in, slide it in, rest on your belly for a moment. And then we'll take that to the other side. Okay, so extending your left arm out to the side, palm facing down. Starting to use your hand to roll onto the side of your body. If that feels okay to be on your side with the arm stretched out behind you, then you might want to bend up this top knee. You might want to let that knee start to release out. Just be where you are in that shape. So noticing and accepting. So it might be that you come into a yoga pose and you discover, as I am doing now, that one of your shoulders has got an old injury or it feels really tight. And your instant reaction might be to just complain about that. Oh, stupid shoulder, hate that shoulder, wish I'd never done this, wish I'd never done that. Try to avoid those criticisms of your physical body. Okay, so you've got one duff shoulder, that's okay. Smile into it, okay, be with it, accept it. That is how your body is right now, and that's okay. It's part of who you are. And we can find ways to work with it, and we can find ways to send healing to it. Work with physiotherapy or whatever it might be, but not right now, because in this moment right now, you're just here with your breath and maybe a slightly dodgy shoulder. Being in this shape is increasing the blood flow and the energy flow to that shoulder. And as you focus on the sensations there, what happens? Often we're so judgmental of our physical body that we don't notice our body until something goes slightly wrong. So we find that we've got a bit of an imbalance, that something isn't working the way that it used to or the way that we want it to. We get a bit cross about that. And so what you want to try and do when you discover these places in your body that maybe don't function completely in the way that you would like them or expect them to, rather than getting cross with them, is to try as best as you can just to send them some love. Okay, just send it some kindness. I'm always reminded when I talk about this of a time when my daughter was playing out in the garden, and she was probably about 5 years old, and she was playing out in the garden, and I just popped back into the house and I could see her, and she fell over and she bumped her knee, and she looked around and I wasn't there to go and comfort her. So rather than shouting at her knee and criticising it and stupid knee, she just bent down and gave it a little kiss. She sent it some kindness, she sent it some compassion. And if we react in that way to our bodies, then we're setting ourselves up for healing. If we react in a way that is dismissive and we try and ignore the pains and the aches and the niggles that we have, or we get cross and frustrated about them, that's really not going to help. Can I just be for another 5 slow deep breaths. And then very, very slowly, just rolling back onto your side, onto your front, sliding your arm in, bringing your hands underneath your shoulders. We're going to come up onto all fours again. Just have a nice little wriggle and roll. And then drop back onto your heels. Lovely stretch out through your spine. Let your head drop down. And slowly, slowly slide the hands in. Okay, so for our next position, what we're going to do is to come into the yin variation of our plow pose. It is an inversion, so if you're not practicing inversions this week, if you're having your period at the moment, or you just don't want to be upside down, you've got a lot going on in your neck, you might want to skip this and just lie with your legs at the wall. It's pretty intense and it's quite difficult to talk once you're in it, so I'm going to show you first and then you can come into the shape. Let me just get rid of that. Okay, so it's like you come into plow pose and then you just let everything flop. So I'm going to lay down on the back. You might want to have a blanket. I'll show you that actually. You might want to have a blanket underneath your shoulders. Okay, so the blanket needs to be folded so that it's a nice wide pad. Your neck is going to be free. So your top edge of your shoulder just about lines up with the top edge of the blanket. So you've got a little bit more space in your neck. Okay, and then you bring your knees in towards your chest head stays central, and you just lift the legs and you take the feet over behind your head, and then you just flop, okay? So it's called snail pose. You can imagine this is like your back of your body here is your snail shell. And there's two things you can do with your arms. You can leave them out behind you, or you can take your hands over by your feet. And as I say, it's quite hard to talk while you're there, so I'm going to come down and leave you in that shape. So being in that pose and just allowing the weight of your legs to sink down. Be with your breath. And if you come into your snail pose and you've decided it's not where you want to be, then by all means you can come out and just take yourself by the wall. And do what works for you. Listen to your body always. I always say this, but your body is wiser than you are. Listen to it before you listen to your head. Listen to the sensations in your body. Listen to your heart. Listen to your belly, to your gut instinct. And just be present in this final pose of our yin practice. It is pretty intense, so we won't be here for quite so long. Let's just take another 3 breaths. And then slowly you can lower your arms down. Use your hands to resist the floor as you roll back onto your back. It's coming down. Notice how the shoulders feel. Maybe roll your head from side to side. I sometimes like to just lift up into Matsayasana after that pose, just to come onto the crown of the head. Not in a yin way, so quite active here, pressing through the arms, pressing out through the feet. And then releasing down onto your back. Take the feet out to the side, take the arms out to the side. So in our yin practice, shavasana even is a little bit more yin. That's a possibility. Your legs are wider, your arms are not shoulder height, but there's not much in it. You know, it's just maybe a couple of inches down from shoulder height. And just let the head kind of loll from side to side. Finding a central position for the head. And just letting yourself be in that shape. As you rest in Shavasana, knowing that you've done something really positive for your body and your mind, and getting onto your yoga mat. Just trying to stay present. Maybe using your breath again to hold your awareness. Each breath bringing you back to now. The past is but a memory, and the future a fantasy. This moment, right now, is a gift. It's why they call it the present moment. Accepting that gift graciously as you release into it. So just notice if your mind has wandered off. And if it has, then just notice where it went. Bringing your attention back. And as you focus your awareness back on your breath now, start to gently but deliberately lengthen your exhalation. Sorry, your inhalation. So drawing the breath in, drawing energy in with each in-breath. And just allowing yourself to let go of anything that's been brought up by this powerful yin practice. Breathing in strength, light, energy. Breathing out, just letting go of anything at all that has no place in your life right now. Anything that isn't serving you, helping you to grow and develop in the way that you wish to. Anything that's closing you down. Breathe deeply. Feeling stronger, brighter, more positive, more focused with each and every breath. Starting to introduce just a little bit of movement into your fingers and toes. You can yawn out the muscles in your face. You can stretch your arms over behind your head. When you're ready, you might look to curl into a ball and drop to your right hand side. Rolling up slowly into a seated position. We'll close the practice with our 3 grounding breaths. Hands come together at the heart, and as we inhale, the arms reach up over the head. And the exhalation, the hands draw down the center of the body. Inhale. Exhale, drawing the hands down. Last time, inhale, float the arms up, palms touch, this time bringing your thumbs to your forehead, to your heart, and namaste. Well, thank you so much for joining me this evening for our yin class. I'll be back in the morning at 10 o'clock with a gentle morning vinyasa session. So if you want to pop along and join me then, that would be lovely. And also back tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock with a little bit more lively vinyasa class. So yeah, and Katie will be with you also on Friday. So I'm just going to unmute everybody. Oopsie daisy. There you go. Okay. Is everyone okay? Oh, sorry to wake you, Denise. Hang on a second. You're not unmuted at all. What's going on there? Denise, you really look like you need to go back to bed, my love.
No, I'm really tired now.
Chocolate cheesecake and take some.
Oh God, yeah, I'm gonna go and see what the kitchen looks like.
Oh, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you later.
See you, darling. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.